All right, so here we go. So today we're going to be talking about building immune resilience. So whether you have get colds often, your immune system is somewhat suppressed, you have low energy, all these different factors can lead to individuals becoming more immune compromised, and immunity is one of the most important factors we have in terms of optimizing our health and well-being. So this is part of my Live Well network, and it is basically $150 a year, and you get a series of webinars that are educational. And the reason I do this is to educate my clients and also to educate individuals who are seeking, really good information in terms of holistic medicine approaches. Let's see. Okay, there we go. This is not working.
And these people from the pH balance, they haven't gotten anything, right? Is that correct?
Nothing.
Okay. I guess it's gonna be a few more weeks. I'll wait.
Yeah.
I prefer to have a good product.
I'm sorry?
I prefer to have a good product and wait.
Yeah, I like the product, but we're going to have to regroup and find something else because I can't deal with these companies that they just don't have a good source of getting us what we need. So it's not going to be a good fit.
Okay.
So this is a little bit about me. So a big part of my practice is detoxification of environmental toxins, and we'll get into that in a minute. But as you know, I use kinesiology, muscle testing of a specific pathogen. And for example, I just ordered a kit with parasitology. A couple of clients of mine who we suspect they have parasites, and they don't always show up in traditional stool samples and under a microscope. Sometimes they might not be in the stool at all. They might be, in the tissue. So, for example, pork tapeworm. But so the kinesiology is a big part of my practice, and I integrate it with all of my treatment plans. So today we're going to talk about the immune system, and we're going to go over what the basics are and what the immune system needs in order to be strong. And we will talk about the nutritional needs and also what detoxification practices that we can follow. And then we will also discuss some individual products that support you. So I have this picture of the cows. So these are very happy cows. They live close to me. A couple of neighborhoods over, and they are grass fed. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is the kinds of foods that we need to eat in order to strengthen our immune system. And one of those would be these wonderful grass fed cows. And most of the products that we use, which contain things like colostrum, are from animals that have never been given antibiotics. And the problem with consuming animal meat or poultry, that have been given antibiotics or have not been given the proper type of a diet that is conducive to their health, is you wind up eating sick meat. So we want to try to obviously avoid that. So right now we're going to talk about how this incredible immune system works. So this is actually a white blood cell. It's called a macrophage. So this is like the kingpin. And this macrophage here is basically preparing to engulf a specific bacteria. So a big part of in the immune system and how we support our immune system in natural, functional, holistic medicine is that we basically tell the immune system that there is a specific pathogen that we've identified in an individual's body, And then we teach this macrophage here to go after that specific pathogen. So this is one of the best ways that we know in order to eliminate pathogens which suppress our immune system and allows the immune system to do the work for you. So it's a really beautiful symphony, and traditional medicine also uses vaccine protocols to do similar treatments. And it's, very, very similar in theory, but the difference is that most of the vaccines they're using these days are not, they are genetically engineered basically. And they contain certain elements which basically also suppress your immune system. So we're not going to get too much into that. So here's what the immune system does. So the primary role is to protect us against pathogens, your bacteria, viruses, fungi, environmental toxins. So your, chlorine in your drinking water, these are all contaminants. So when something comes into the body that's not supposed to be there, it's not part of our DNA. Our immune system has innate and adaptive immunity, which allows it to target specific pathogens and eliminate them, just as you could see with the macrophage we just shared. So these white blood cells, so when the immune system is active and functioning properly, you'll see that on your lab work, your white blood cell count, your monocyte counts, your eosinophil counts will all be in the normal range. So when you start seeing those values become too high or too low, it will indicate whether or not the body has an infection. So this is one of the reasons why we use functional medicine, blood chemistry analysis, in order to identify the differences in an individual's lab work to find clues of what might be causing this person to not feel well, if you will. So obviously our immune system has to be very strong in order for us to if we have been exposed to, some kind of a virus or bacteria. And we're going to talk today about the things that obviously suppress our immune system. And it is the most important thing you can do to prevent disease. So here are some of the factors that influence it. There is definitely a genetic component. Obviously, age is a factor. So the older we get, the less great our immune system might be functioning, depending on what else is going on, but it's definitely a factor to consider. Gender, not sure why gender would be an issue, but I do believe that obviously it can. So what kind of pre-existing conditions an individual has? Some people are having trouble getting on Zoom, looks like. So lifestyle, let's talk about, let's talk about pre-existing. So if you have a comorbidity, so if you have diabetes, you have cancer, you have a suppressed cardiovascular system, and you're on medication for that. These are what we call pre-existing conditions. So, during the COVID epidemic, it was very, very clear that we needed to take the population that had these comorbidities. They're much more vulnerable to things like this horrific pandemic we were just presented with. So some of the lifestyle factors would be, whether or not you're sleeping, whether or not you're pooping every day, whether or not you're under stress. So keeping a moderate, healthy lifestyle. So prior to this webinar today, I played in a tennis tournament, and I was tired after lunch, and I thought, well, what's the one one thing that I can do right now to increase my energy and focus. And so I can present this webinar to folks and feel good about it. So what I do is I meditate. So that just consists of being quiet for 5 to 10 minutes and, going outside or staring out the window at the trees and just being in nature and letting my body relax and recharge. So that's one of the things that I recommend to do with all of my clients, and it's basically a game changer. So meditation and taking care of yourself, and learning how to say no to keep your life in balance is the key. So diet is also hugely a problem in our society today, and most of the foods that we're eating, which we'll get into in depth, are basically suppressing our immune system. I had my daughter here. I love you, Adrian. But she was drinking Diet Cokes or, while she was here. And, sometimes I don't say anything to my kids, but over time, just bringing in the awareness of what we're doing. And people think, well, I feel fine afterwards, but there are long-term repercussions of consuming products that interfere with our exceptional health and well-being. So the last factor, which greatly affects the immune system, is your toxins, mostly from the environment, whether it be man-made chemicals or viruses, bacteria that are naturally occurring. So these are what we're going to be discussing today. And the ones that we have the most control over are your toxins in the environment, the diet we're consuming, and our lifestyle changes that we can make. So stress is a huge one. I'm not going to get too much into the stress factor today, but I will tell you that if you are under any type of emotional or physical stress, chronically, you are depleting your white blood cell count, because it changes the way that your GI tract, we talk more about this in another webinar, but it alters the way your GI functions, and it actually can cause your nutrients not to be absorbed properly. So look at this list. So these are all the things that we have under our control. That's your stress we just talked about, your mind and your emotions, your emotional state, not letting things get to you, avoiding people who are going to cause emotional upset, which I do with my family and friends sometimes, but definitely with my family. And sometimes you have to eliminate people who are causing chronic stress to, especially if it's, a family thing. So getting adequate sleep, deep REM sleep, getting support for your sleep if you're not sleeping well. We went into some of the foods that will create problems for the immune system, whether or not your nutrients are, do you have all the nutrients that your immune system needs? We'll get into that in detail. And then whether you're digesting your digestive system, which we talked a little bit about, and basically what is in your gut microbiome. What kind of pathogens are lurking behind the doors that you just took an antibiotic and because you were sick, and this is like a recurring thing that you have to do, but how is that affecting your microbiome? And this is a huge part of the problem. And one of the reasons why even traditional medicine uses alternative medicine and sometimes endorses it. So we're going to get really heavy into detoxifying these environmental toxins, and I'm going to share ways that you can do that. And being adequately hydrated, and obviously movement. So making sure you're exercising. So exercise is one of the best ways to detoxify, other than, eliminating your bowels properly, getting enough water in your system, and then moving your body is going to move your lymphatic system and it's gonna increase your metabolism and the CO2 exchange of oxygen to CO2. So when you're breathing, you're breathing in oxygen and you're releasing all of that. So really fascinating stuff. I'm having people text me that they're having trouble getting in, but I don't know what to do. So I'm gonna have to just share the webinar with them afterwards. So let's talk about some of the nutritional considerations. What does this immune system need in order to be healthy? So one of the wonderful nutritional people who helped me is Margot, and Margot is a research guru, and we researched this heavily during COVID because we were trying to find out what we could do to support individuals, especially my elderly population who is immune compromised, other than just throwing a mask on their face or keeping them indoors. What nutrients are most prevalent to support this incredible system? So as you can see, your vitamin A, C, and E, your minerals, zinc, copper, and magnesium. And then, of course, many plant compounds in the animal kingdom. The plant kingdom contain phytonutrients that are just essential for your pH balance and so much more. And then obviously your macronutrients, having the adequate, fatty acids, for example. Most people have too much protein in the diet, or they have hypochlorhydria, so their body is not digesting proteins and carbohydrates properly. So these are all factors that influence your immune system. So the problem is why we lack so much nutrients is because of our crappy, sad American diet. So it's really, really important what you're raising your children, what you're teaching them to eat, and what you allow to come into your house. And, I was one of those parents who, yeah, sure, my kids could have certain things, certain times, but I just didn't have a lot of junk food in the house. And so when we talk about food, what do we need to eat? You need to eat a predominantly plant-based diet that is high in leafy greens, not a high protein animal fat diet that's going to cause acidity in the body, and acidity is going to lead to a whole cascade of problems with your bones and your mineral content. So getting your family eating a plant-based Mediterranean type diet with, if it's in a box, you want to avoid foods that are boxed and foods that are processed. And it's really hard to do, but I think it's really important for us to just gather around the table, get involved. And one of the beauty of teaching your children this at a young age is they grow up loving to cook, loving to commune in the kitchen, and use that as an avenue to have fun. And we have a lot of fun here cooking over the holidays and stuff. So we already talked about the food quality. So our planet has been stripped. We do a lot of farming, and our food is just not healthy as it could be. And one of my greatest fears as a nutritionist is that we are losing control of our food supply. So as we bring in more food from South America, and we are starving out our locally grown produce, we need to support those industries and send messages that we need to have food, because after, traveling in a truck over the border, what's the nutrient density of those carrots? It starts to deplete over time. And among other things, sometimes things are radiated when they go over the border as well. So this is an interesting slide. So this just is telltale of how much our food has changed since 1975, and it's really sad. So then one of the main reasons, so what is causing these nutritional deficiencies, obviously, is that your food quality, the stress, the toxic load on your liver, or your kidneys, your excretory. If you're, like I said, you're not eliminating every day, your body's becoming toxic. And colorectal cancer is the number one leading cause of death in terms of cancer. And so keeping the system healthy and moving. And then we also have the chronic infections, chronic illnesses, all play a part in creating nutrient deficiencies, because your immune system is so overwhelmed with taking care of the crappy American food that you're eating. It literally every day it's like throwing a bag of trash on your lawn, and your immune system has to go deal with it. So by eliminating and improving your diet, that's the first thing that you can do. And obviously it's the least expensive, although it does cost more. It's a trade-off. You have long-term health versus long-term disease. There's no question in my mind that the most important investment you can make is in your health. So here's kind of a fun slide. It kind of shows that, oh boy, there's the poop that's maybe not eliminating every day. And this is how this cycle happens. So this is your intestinal wall. These are some of the bacteria that live in your GI tract. So this is what we call your gut microbiome. So this microbiome is your universe. This is where we receive nutrients from some of these bacteria, and they, make vitamin K2, and they all kinds of great things. But when we have excess antibiotic use for whatever reason, or we don't have a healthy gut microbiome because we're not consuming pre and probiotics, and we're not getting them from our food, and we're not digesting our food, this whole system becomes compromised. And this is where most of 70% of your immune system resides, in the gut. So this is when you talk about the gut-brain barrier and what's the relationship to anxiety, nervousness, ADHD. It's all because you have an unhealthy gut microbiome. So it's a lot to figure out, but working with somebody like me to get you on the right track. So this is
With this
probably
with this thing, sorry to interrupt. With this thing of the probiotics, is it a good idea to take a lot of different brands, and the most? I look at it like as if it was I had this what do you call it, like a garden, and the garden only has one type of tree, instead of having like every type of tree and every type of insect, every type of natural, every type of everything, to be like natural. So is it a good idea to take like probiotics from different brands and all these different options one has, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you want to take multifaceted, obviously the GI map, or having an organic acids test and finding out what your gut microbiome is made up of is a key finding, and it will tell you whether you're low in lactobacillus or bacteroids. It'll show you what your gut microbiome is doing, and then you can replenish the ones that you're deficient in. And then there are strategies, of course, to eliminate the bacteria imbalances by eating a more plant-based diet. So what we need to understand is that the plants that we eat produce the fiber that our bacteria need in order to survive. So that is how you feed your healthy bacteria. So that's when we talk about your prebiotics and your probiotics. So the probiotics are the lactobacillus, for example, and we need to eat certain types of food, predominantly plant-based with lots of fiber in order to feed those healthy bacteria. So does that partially answer your question?
No, I mean, I get maybe there's another and more important question is, did I get that exam done of the how my
Yes,
gut is? Oh, I did?
yes.
So we know what we're missing, or I
Uh,
was good?
yes, we know some of what you were missing. And we obviously know, yeah, we have a pretty good idea of what's going on in your gut microbiome. Yes.
Okay, just
So,
to maybe, so if we know what's
right.
missing, and maybe we
So,
can like take a specific type of probiotic
correct.
for
So,
what's missing, right? Not
right.
like not like a general one.
Right. So early in your treatment plan, you were on probiotics for quite some time.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously, as your programs change and things, and we tweak the diet and things like that, and then obviously we can always reassess at a later date. But for many of us who are not big into taking lots of antibiotics and who do eat already a fabulous diet or close to fabulous diet, not a lot of processed food. And so it everybody's different. So no two individuals are alike. So we just need we need to assess everyone's on a case-to-case basis. So what is detoxification? So this is my definition of detoxification. So it's a delicate process of eliminating or neutralizing environmental, which are your man-made chemicals and products, and then your natural toxins, your bacteria, your fungi, your viruses, and your parasites, which we receive from the ingested air we breathe, our water supply, our food supply, being out in the garden. We can pick things up as well, and they can accumulate in our tissues and organs and prevent optimal health and contribute to many, many, many chronic diseases. So the king of being well in 2024 and beyond is going to be the ability to detoxify. And obviously, a big part of detoxifying is maintaining your healthy diet and your healthy lifestyle. So, simple things like drinking your water, and then we do much more comprehensive assessments. So here I have some vials here. For example, I can test this vial, which is got the bacteria, the virus, the herpes virus. If a person tells me that they had herpes, or do they still have it? And we can test to see if the herpes virus is actually active. And then there are other ways, obviously, to confirm those diagnoses. So we don't just look at one specific assessment process. We listen to what the person is saying, what their history is, and what types of tests. So beyond the functional health report that we do, as I mentioned, you have OAT tests. We have many tests to show what kind of things that we need to do in order to detoxify. So the Great Plains Labs, OAT test, we have doctor's data, which analyzes heavy metal toxicity and tells us what environmental metals you might have in your system. And then we also have a really fabulous test, which I use a lot now. And that is also by Great Plains. It's called the Mycotox profile. So this test here will tell us if you have mold exposure or, you know, some other types of environmental man-made chemicals that are lurking, pesticides and herbicides. And so once we have this data, we basically train the immune system to go after these specific pathogens. And I have this process of understanding with DesBio has basically changed my practice to it's like a whole another level that most people don't even understand. So here, oops, let me see, I got somebody coming in.
I'm gonna ask you a question. With this liposomal, is that like all vitamins is better to take them liposomal now? Is that like this new technology of delivery system that we should always go to since it's brand new and it gets right to the point? And
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
brand
so
or any brand would be okay, you know, all that stuff.
yeah, so good question. So so what are liposomals? So liposomals are made from phosphatidylcholine, which is found in sunflower seeds. And what they do is basically a lot of individuals, especially my women who've been on birth control pills for a couple of years, they have trouble digesting fats. So what the liposomals do is they basically break down the fats for you so that they basically go right into the bloodstream and completely bypass the liver and the digestive process 100%. So the liposomals are a game changer. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing that obviously a person needs to do. And you can just so this is why in my protocols, I have you consume one type of a liposomal, whether it be straight out sunflower oil or limonene oil or a liposomal magnesium. So when I do a heavy duty protocol, like I'm trying to eliminate H. pylori or C. diff from an individual, I am definitely going to put them on some liposomal glutathione because I need to make sure that that bacteria does not recirculate back into the liver and everything is moving properly, and liposomals support that process of liposomal glutathione in particular of a healthy bowel elimination of the bile. So getting back to our detoxification, these are the pathogens that I look for. So I look for what viruses are in your body, what bacteria might be lurking, whether or not this individual might have been exposed to a parasite. I can't tell you how prevalent parasites have become. I've had them numerous times in my life. It's not fun, but when you get rid of them, you feel so much better. And all of these things. And then also there's a specific order of knowing what to do in which order. That is really important, as some of us know, because basically you'll hit a wall and your body just won't get better. So early on in my career, before I knew how to do all this, before I got my master's degree and really dove into functional medicine, I tried this crazy detox. It was called the Master Cleanse. And I was very sick and thought, well, I'm going to do this Master Cleanse. Well, I'll tell you what, I took that Master Cleanse and it kicked my butt. So this is a perfect sign of an individual who didn't know what she was doing at the time. And I went ahead and I took this protocol and I was so sick. I was literally, I don't think I got out of bed for 3 days. I was sneezing, coughing. I was a mess. And the reason is, so the way that I describe this to people is, all right, so you just bought this beautiful house in the country and it has this awesome barn and you want to remodel this barn or, fix it up, if you will. So so you and your wife or husband go into the barn with your brooms, and you start sweeping and cleaning things up, and you realize, man, I don't feel very good. I'm starting to cough and sneeze, and my eyes are itching. And it's because we didn't open up the doors. So this is why you need to work with someone who's really skilled in understanding all this, because if you don't, the detox process does not work. So you have certain channels. You have your liver, you have your gallbladder, you have your digestive tract, you have your skin, eliminates many toxins as well. So as we're trying to release something in the body that's not supposed to be there, let's just say it's a mold or a fungi, candida, for example. If we don't clean up these other channels, then that candida or that mercury or those pesticides are going to basically recirculate. So this is why we spend so much time doing a liver gallbladder cleanup. And so I appreciate all my clients for all the, understanding that. So this is one of the reasons. So when we talk about supplements, we're talking about using herbal medicine, and we're using homeopathic medicines, and we're using vitamins and nutrients based, we have to supplement in order to do this. We cannot do this with diet alone. It's just not going to work, because there is not enough diversity, and there's not enough vitamin C, if you will. There's not enough vitamin D. There's not enough zinc. We have to supplement, especially if we find out that you have some kind of a deficiency. So people are always like, well, Lauren, I don't understand why I'm taking all these supplements. Well, this is why. So it's not something you have to be doing for the rest of your life, but this is the way that we have to address this. So for anyone on the webinar, we have a special on some of my immune support products. So the Omni Essentials is a multivitamin mineral, and these are not your traditional over-the-counter type vitamin mineral products. These are by companies who are scrutinized heavily by the FDA, and they have very, very high standards. They are not sold to the general public. So these are what your doctors and your functional medicine people are using with their patients. And unfortunately, some of the products, even outside, even though it might be a functional practice, most of them are junk. I'm not going to name names of a company, but I just had a call from a clinic that specializes in brain health, and they have a whole product line, and they wanted me to use their product line. So I had looked at it years ago, and I thought, okay, well, I'll check it out. And sure enough, it was just loaded with preservatives and things of that nature, which basically actually suppress your immune system. And one thing you have to realize is it's always about the money. And yes, these supplements might cost an extra $5, $10, but they're not going to be sitting on a shelf, especially things that you buy on Amazon. Are typically, you might be able to find Pro Defense on Amazon for $10 less, but when you get the bottle, you'll look at it and you'll realize it's expired. So I tell you, yep, I want to make things affordable for my clients, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure that the supplements that I'm using are the best. And that's just the way that I'm not going to practice medicine in any other way. So then for a more comprehensive bundle, this is for people who are, interested in supporting their immune system. These are the nutrients that, have been clinically shown you know, to help support this. So you're going to receive 20% off. The code is um, LWN at checkout. The products I think are already discounted, so they're already off 20% throughout the month. But if you, you know, if you have a grandparent or someone you care about, you know, you might want to consider one of these wonderful product lines to support them.